Our story starts with a 20-year-old man named Rio who looks like a 12-year-old boy. Rio is in the waiting room of heaven. Rio is talking to an angel. The angel explains Rio died in an accident, but he will be reincarnated. Rio recognizes he is being isekai'd. The angel assures Rio that there is no quest for him to undertake, there is no demon lord to slay. Rio is just a vanilla reincarnation. Rio just wants a slow and relaxing life in his new land of swords, monsters, and magic. In this new world, 20% of the people can cast spells. The angel offers Rio a house in a quiet forest. The house, a nice tutor, is stocked with food and protected from monsters for a few months by a barrier. The home's amenities includes a compendium on monsters and a compendium on flora. Rio is given the ability of a water mage because as a man, Rio can pee standing up. Rio has just violated the non-negotiable first rule of isekai. He did not ask the angel for a harem of hot girls to share his life with him. Rio knows he will have to venture out of the barrier when his food runs low, so he practices his water magic. Rio makes water balls, low-pressure water jets, and impotent ice darts. Rio decides to leave the barrier protecting his house and explore. While Rio is in the forest outside the house, he is attacked by a lesser boar, a big and dangerous but one of the weakest kind of monsters. Rio has watched Game of Thrones and he knows King Robert was killed by a wild boar. The wild boar charges Rio, so he creates an ice slide. The wild boar spins out of control on the ice and Rio produces ice spikes and eviscerates the boar. Days pass. Rio's one change of clothes has worn out, so he resorts to exploring bare-chested. Rio finds fruit to eat, which he identifies because he's read the compendium on flora. Rio is attacked by a massive bird of prey, an assassin hawk. Rio creates large blocks of ice, aka ice walls. The hawk just flies through them. Rio creates ice darts that miss the hawk. The hawk dives at Rio, so he forms a protective ice shell like an M&M made of ice. The hawk crashes into the ice shell and loses an eye. The hawk flies away, sans an eyeball, with revenge on its mind. Rio gets a bit lost because he ran far from home fighting the hawk. As he searches for home, Rio meets a headless horseman. More on this guy later. Over the days, Rio develops mad water mage skills. He meets a snake that rears up to twice his height. Rio defeats it with ice darts. Rio spearfishes in a stream. Rio kills a salamander the size of a car. Rio even dives into the ocean looking for food. This was not the brightest move he's ever made. Rio accidentally releases the Kraken, so he quickly flees from this gigantic octopus. Every day Rio practices his water magic. He can now create an ice jet that can cut through a boulder. Just cut it in half. Every night, Rio visits the Headless Horseman in order to spar and hone his swordsmanship skills. Rio always loses the battles. The Headless Horseman is called a Dullahan, which is an Irish term for headless dude. Rio enjoys their manly camaraderie. One day, the Dullahan gives Rio a sword made of water. On his next trip into the forest, Rio is attacked by a bird of prey with one eye and dark feathers. Clearly, the assassin hawk has evolved and is out for revenge. Rio slays the evolved assassin hawk with his sword. A dragon flies up looking for the assassin hawk. The dragon talks like an English dandy. Rio apologizes for killing the bird of prey. The dragon is impressed with Rio's swords. The dragon points out that the sword belongs to the Fairy King, which means the headless sparring partner is the Fairy King. Rio and the dragon rap until the dragon needs to fly away. Rio has spent nearly every night since his reincarnation with the Fairy King. As the chapter ends, the angel pops in and realizes Rio has a hidden ability. Rio was granted eternal youth, which means Rio could always do a crossover episode where he dates Firin the elf. Do you really think Rio's life will be slow and relaxing? Rio, his clothes reduced to tatters, heads to the beach because he has a craving for seafood. Rio finds a shipwreck on the beach, complete with bodies of people who are wearing clothes that aren't in tatters. Instead of looting the corpses, Rio finds a guy who is still alive. The survivor wakes up back in Rio's house. Rio says hi. The sole survivor is surprised. He did not sense Rio's presence. He's also surprised that Rio's clothes are so worn out that Rio could be the national spokesperson for Franks and Beans Awareness Month. The survivor introduces himself as Abel. Rio apologizes that everyone else is dead. Abel laughs it off as no big deal. They were just a bunch of smugglers. Of course, they had wives and children and parents who cared about them, but they were just smugglers. Abel and Rio eat lunch and head back to the boat because Abel needs to find something. Abel can't find the thing he was looking for, so he invites Rio to travel with him back to civilization. Rio agrees to go with him provided they can leave tomorrow. That night, Rio visits the Fairy King one more time in order to spar again and say goodbye. Rio loses his mock sword fight with the Fairy King. Rio says goodbye now. The fairy gives Rio a set of clothes as a going away present. Rio has been nearly naked each time he fought the Fairy King. Now that Rio is leaving, time to cover the Franks and Beans. Rio and Abel start out on their journey. They come across a boar. Abel demonstrates his combat skills by slaying the boar. Abel gave the boar combat skill total impalement. Rio and Abel come across lizard people in the marshland. This makes no sense, as lizards are reptiles and amphibians would be more likely to live in marshland. Rio and Abel try to circle around the lizard people. The lounge of lizards is following Rio and Abel. Rio and Abel trespass on the land of the lizard people. The lizard people follow Rio and Abel because they are defending their land from intruders. The colonial oppressor Rio uses ice magic and kills a bunch of lizard people, and the colonial oppressor Abel kills a bunch of innocent lizards whose only crime was protecting their loved ones. Abel is impressed that Rio can summon multiple ice lances at the same time. Abel has total impalement as a skill, and Rio has multiple simultaneous ice lances. Bring on the ladies. Rio and Abel invade a rock golem nest. Rio and Abel genocide an entire tribe of rock golems. Rio and Abel loot the corpses for their magic stones. Rio and Abel come across a behemoth, which, as its name would indicate, is a huge creature. A flight of wyverns show up and attack the behemoth. The behemoth kills the wyverns with a magic negation spell. Animals are not stupid. There's no reason a flight of wyverns would voluntarily get annihilated by a behemoth in a 3-second battle. Abel says he's only seen magic negation used by traps in dungeons. Rio, who should be turned on by pretty ladies, is instead turned on by the idea of visiting a dungeon. Personally, I'm turned on by a woman who imprisons me in her dungeon. Abel also explains to Rio what elves and dwarves are. Rio and Abel keep walking. Rio says once they cross the mountains, they will be in the land of humans. Rio learned this geography by talking to the dragon for 8 minutes a month back. Rio keeps this a secret because the second rule of isekai requires the protagonist to keep a secret. In the mountains, Rio and Abel encounter a griffin. Instead of fighting the griffin, they bribe it with meat and make it go away. After the griffin flies off, Rio and Abel come across wyverns. Rio pins them down with ice darts, and Abel slaughters them with total impalement. More wyverns fly towards them, so Rio drops ice blocks on them so they fall to their deaths. Rio and Abel take the wyvern's magic stones. They see more wyverns. Rio and Abel agree to target the wyvern species for extinction. A final question. What exactly did the mostly naked Rio do to earn the sword and clothes he was given by the Fairy King? Pouches full of magic stones, Rio and Abel are back in the land of humans. They walk to a local town and pick a restaurant to eat in. Abel introduces Rio to the concept of an adventurers guild. It's about time they had this conversation, since the third rule of isekai is that the protagonist must join a guild. Membership has its privileges. Being a member of the Adventurers Guild is a form of ID, and it means cities will waive their entrance fee. Abel had to sponsor Rio because he has no ID, so he could only enter the town if he was sponsored. Abel had to pay a silver coin for the entrance fee because Rio is not a guild member. Another guild perk is they will buy your monster stones and the bits and bobs you carry in from the monsters you kill. At the restaurant, Rio has curry rice and he is ecstatic because he loved this kind of food back in Japan. The fourth rule of isekai is that Japanese food must eventually be available to the protagonist. Rio and Abel continue traveling back until they reach Abel's hometown. His hometown is called Loon. The guard at the town gate is excited to see Abel because he's been missing. The guard gushes over Rio because he saved Abel's life. Abel pays Rio's entry fee into the town. Rio and Abel head straight to the guild. Abel will vouch for Rio with the guild. Normally, a new guild member has to start as rank F, but with Abel vouching for Rio, he can take on D and E ranked jobs. Abel can vouch for Rio since he is B rank, or is Abel higher than B rank? Rio and Abel enter the guild. The fifth rule of isekai is that the guild must have an attractive female receptionist. The guild's attractive female receptionist is Nina, and she's excited to see Abel, who has been missing. Guild members pour out of every crevasse and alcove in the guild in order to see wayward son Abel. Abel is as popular as a porn star performing at your favorite strip club. Rio steps outside to let Abel catch up with his guild fanboys and fangirls. Outside the guild hall, Rio meets a woman with pointy ears, an elf. He drools over her. The elf asks if Rio is wearing a hand-me-down set of clothes from the Fairy King. She says Rio is very interesting, but she's in a hurry, so she hopes they meet again. Rio feels a tingly feeling down there. The sixth rule of isekai is that some totally hot senorita will actually talk to a loser like you and find you funny, witty, and attractive. Abel comes out of the guild hall and grabs Rio. Abel helps Rio register with the guild. Nina, the receptionist, is surprised Abel would vouch for Rio. No one from Crimson Sword, the top party in town, has ever endorsed a new member before. Nina explains that there's still a physical test. Rio and Abel wait in a meeting room while the guild master is summoned. When the guild master shows up, he gets on his knees, thankful Abel is back in one piece. Sounds like Abel somehow owed him money. Abel shows the guildmaster all the monster stones taken from the wyverns they fought. This is proof Rio should be assigned a higher rank in the guild. The guildmaster agrees. Abel's team members from Crimson Sword burst into the meeting room. They're excited to see Abel. There's a cute female wind mage, a cute female healer, and some guy we don't care about. While Rio finishes signing up for the guild, the members of Crimson Sword meet. The cute wind mage is skeptical of Rio's near supernatural water mage powers. The members of Crimson Sword are concerned Rio may join the Empire, as the Force is strong in him, young Jedi. There's a party to welcome Abel back. Rio drinks a lot. Rio is shown to the room in the guild's boarding house, room 15. Rio has 3 roommates. One of Ryo's roommates has a crush on guild receptionist Nina. Ryo is warned a guy in room 1 is a jerk. Do you think Ryo will have a confrontation with the guy in room 1 in the future?